So imagine this, beginning of the training, first day, bright in the morning. We're about to start, and I am scrambling. I'm in the training room, participants are coming in, and I still don't have slides. I still don't have my music going. I am trying to find the tech support because I don't have access to control the AV in the room. And apparently, there are people who are going to join remotely, virtually. It's going to be a hybrid session that I did not realize. How many times has this happened to us where we're at the top of the hour about to start and we just don't know what to do because we're so thrown off because of the tech issues? Eventually, what happened was I was able to get some tech support, and in the background, they were helping to get everything set up as we officially got started. But really, no slides, music on my laptop, and it was fine. We got rolling. The thing is, the moment that a trainer's tech stops working is one of the most revealing moments in facilitation, because what happens next has nothing to do with your slides. It's all about how we take control of the situation and move forward regardless of the challenges that are in our way. So we talk a lot about designing for engagement, but we don't talk nearly enough about designing for when everything breaks, and it will. So that's what this podcast is about today. Welcome everyone to the Let's Skill Up Trainer Table. I'm Karie Albaran, joined by my partner in crime, Charles Bellingham. We're the co-founders of Let's Skill Up, and today we're talking about the thing that no one puts into the facilitator guide: what to do when the tech stops cooperating and the room is watching you figure it out.
Yeah, for some facilitators, it's their worst nightmare. It could be ours, and that's why I always like to identify very early on, hey, what's the cause for technology breaks, whether it's virtual or live? Because it can really derail a session. It can throw the whole session off. And people are watching you, and while you're being watched, are you calm? Do you panic? The main thing is you got to figure out, what caused it in the first place. And oftentimes, one of the things we fail to do is to plan for a technology breakdown. And so if we don't plan for that as a contingency, then we plan for failure. So, a trainer spends all of this time designing the slides, creating talk tracks for the training, yet it doesn't really become effective if you've got nothing to display your good work. So, most of us were trained that that's our job, is to deliver the material, when really our job is to control the room and hold the room. And so some of the common traps we fall into when we find ourselves in these situations is that we really don't have any sort of a backup. My son's a wedding DJ, and he has taught me through the years, always have a backup. Because if the music stops during a wedding reception, it is not pretty.
That would not be pretty.
So he has a number of different connections to make sure that he's got a backup should he need one. And when take the time to fix it, but communicate with the folks while you're doing it. So if you don't have a communication plan, that silence can be deadly. And so be sure that you just keep people in the loop. They'll be patient with you. It's not the end of the world. So you don't need to display visible panic.
Even though sometimes it might feel like the end of the world.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. And and you don't need to over apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this is so bad. No, just fix it. And so, tech failures, they're not an interruption of your session. They're a test of whether you've designed a session or a slide deck, because you should be able to deliver content in the absence of visuals as a strength as a facilitator.
Charles, have you ever thought of or are you familiar with the analogy of the duck, being a duck as a trainer or facilitator?
Yeah, paddling like heck underneath the water, but calm on the surface.
Exactly. They don't need to see the panic. I mean, I've been in this situation many times, both in person and virtual. My heart starts racing. I start sweating. I'm thinking, oh no, the training is starting to completely crash.
Yeah.
But really, just like you said, it's not the end of the world. And they don't have to see that. That's okay. We can explain, yes, there's a tech issue. Yes, we're figuring it out. And it's not the end of the world. So it's up to us to be like ducks as facilitators because we want to create the best possible experience for our participants to get the most out of the training that they're in.
Yes.
You made me think of another experience that I had, and I was delivering virtual session, and you can imagine, right? Many of us as trainers, as virtual trainers, we have our command center, right? We have the big monitor, the side monitors, we have our laptop, we have an iPad, we have the clock on our phone, everything is set up, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the sentence, power goes out.
Yeah.
Lose everything.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking my face is probably just frozen on the screen, and everyone is probably saying, Karie, Karie, are you there? You're frozen. We can't hear you. They start typing in the chat. And so immediately what I did was I got on my laptop and my phone for hotspot, right? To get internet to my laptop. The lights were all off around me, but that was okay. I had light shining from my laptop at least onto my face so that they could see me. I logged back in and said, all right, everyone, power went out, but that's okay. We're still here. Thanks for your patience. Let's dive back in. And I'm, of course, hunched over my laptop at this point instead of looking up at my, big monitor and the big camera, but that's okay because the point is not necessarily, all of the glamour, all of the screens, everything that I need. I've done this training before. All I need to do is reconnect with the audience and make sure that I help them to get there where they're trying to go through this training.
Oh, yeah.
So,
great
go
story.
ahead.
Yeah. So, I am just because of what my son had taught me about always having a backup. I'm a little bit of a geek about that, to the point where I make sure the producer has a copy of the slide deck in case I can't show mine. In a live session, somebody in the room is going to have a copy of my deck in case my computer just fails. So there's somebody in the room that can share. So, be thinking ahead like that. What if, and create backups that may be untraditional, but are certainly a level of security for you.
Exactly. Especially if we have a team that we can lean on, those backups are extremely helpful. I've also had backup computers, my own backup computer to one that I use just for presenting, then my own laptop that I use for the actual work that I do. And
Yes.
I can default to that other one in case the presenter laptop does not work. Same thing, right? Think through. We put so much effort, like you said, into planning every single element of the facilitation, except for oftentimes what could go wrong from a tech or a logistics standpoint.
Right. Right. When I
So,
come in the room, the first thing I like to do is set up the technology. Get that set up first, because if anything's going to take some time to fix, it's going to be that. So make that your first thing, is make sure the technology works, because when you have to troubleshoot, you need the time to make that work.
exactly. And then, in addition to that, you mentioned having backup tech. We can also make sure that there's maybe a flip chart, a whiteboard. We have our flip chart visuals ready to go before the session actually starts. During the actual session, let's say during the first 60 seconds, we can also ask participants if they know what's happening, what to do if in the case that technology, Wi-Fi goes out. We can make sure that we kind of set the ground rules, especially if we're in a virtual setting, or make sure that everyone is aware, where's the chat? How are we going to communicate in the case that the platform starts to crash?
Right. And during the sessions, it's important too, because we know that in training, the training transfers during activities. So if the technology fails, this might be a good time to just present some content that you can create an activity around so that they're busy, while you're getting things worked out.
Hmm. Exactly. At the very least, all right, everyone, let's take 5 minutes to discuss in groups of three how might we apply what we just what we were just talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Even as
well,
simple as that.
right,
And then in those 5 minutes, we
yeah,
work on troubleshooting.
right. Hey, I'd love to know what folks who are watching this podcast. I'd love to know what some of your stories and experiences are. So be sure when you get the podcast to comment and tell us about experiences you've had.
I think we all have many war stories, right?
Right.
Now, when we re-enter the room or we pick things back up after the tech issue, again, it goes back to that duck analogy, right? So we need to think about how can we restart without losing extra time, without losing the momentum, without losing the engagement and the participants' experience and flow in the session.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and plan what might be one sentence that we have just in our mental back pocket to use. Something like, thanks everyone for your patience. We've resolved the issue. Or thanks everyone for your patience. We're going to pivot and go in this direction.
Right.
And let's pick back up.
Yeah.
Bridge from the previous topic into now where we're going next.
And then just take a deep sigh of relief.
Exactly, exactly. Know that we have everything under control, and again, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Now, there are some differences between virtual versus live. We've kind of been jumping back between the two. Charles, what would you say are some of the differences that you've seen in your experience?
Yeah. So the nice thing about virtual is that, you've got this parallel stream of consciousness called the chat,
Hmm.
and you can carry on a conversation there. Um, and so it's easy to tell people what to do or what's going on in the chat while you're working on getting your deck back up so that they can see it. And so in a virtual session, you've got some tools. In a live session, you're in the room, work the room. They're in pods, get them talking to each other. And so it doesn't require a screen to teach. I've taught sessions before without slides simply because the technology that I walked into, the connectors didn't match what I was used to or what I was capable of doing.
Oh no.
And so I had to go with it. It was a shorter session, thank goodness. But in a live session, you've got the ability to deliver, and they get to see you, and you're the message.
Hmm. I've had a similar experience where the slides didn't work, laptop wasn't working, and we went without slides too. Fortunately, there we had a participant manual, and so we could just direct everyone to the same visual in the participant manual. But that's where different assets can really help to keep the room all on the same page.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah. And the converse is true. Sometimes you don't have the participant guide because they didn't show up. FedEx didn't deliver them in time. And so you have to work through that. And oftentimes you're sending them through email a copy of it
Mhm.
so they can track along with you.
Exactly, exactly. I think also from a virtual versus live standpoint, in virtual, oftentimes silence can lead to disconnection, right? We need to create the space for silence for reflection, yes, but sometimes the longer that silence goes on, the more disconnection, the more risk of disconnection can happen. So we can fill it by doing things like typing real quick in the chat if our audio went out, right? Or having a producer in the background who does the same thing, type something in the chat for everyone to engage. From a live slash an in-person standpoint, silence can sometimes feel awkward for the participants, but they're more likely to jump in, right, and want to fill the silence. So we can leverage it as a technique to really drive and push for that engagement and that participation. What are some others that you've seen?
Yeah, well, and so participants in a virtual session, they really can't see your face. So communicate early and often with them in any way you can, whether it's chat or even if it's a co-facilitator or a producer, because you planned out during your meeting with them before the session in a virtual session, what would be their role in the event of. And they're not going to want to teach the class because that's not their role, but they can continue to keep the people engaged while you fix your snafu. In a live session, they can see everything. they can see you, and so make sure that that you communicate early and often as well, but just in different ways. So just stay calm, loose, relaxed, fun, and just don't stare at the projector. The look of loss on your face, not a good look. And be
Exactly.
sure that also you have for a live session, you've got the number of anybody who can be of assistance to you, whether it's a tech person or the stakeholder or whatever. Let them know what's going on. They'll hear about it anyway, but just be sure to let them know what's happening.
Exactly. And any other team that we have in the background who's waiting to hear how the training is going.
Right.
Keep them on the same page too. Keep them in the loop.
So
I think
true.
one other tip that I have for everyone, you mentioned this earlier, but have a producer, have a co-facilitator, or even an informal, maybe a participant who can
Mm,
be kind of a deputy, or a previous participant who can who comes back as a coach or as a helper who's auditing the training again.
yeah.
All of those can help to keep things rolling while we are working through troubleshooting the tech issues.
Yes. 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 As a last resort, you can also be sure to have handy the links to the deck, the links to the participant guide, so that you can send them out as a last resort. If you want people to see the slides, you're not able to show them, maybe you can send it to them. They can even look on their phone as you're describing through it. So there are many different ways. You just have to be creative.
Exactly. Okay, so let's be real for a second because we're talking about planning, preparing, right? Taking the time to think ahead. And what about that situation where, maybe we didn't have the time to think ahead? What if we have a trainer listening and they're saying, "Well, I have a training starting in 10 minutes." There are some things that we can still do if we encounter these challenges, right? First thing is communicate as quickly as possible, even if we don't have a plan B. Communication is key. So we're navigating through this tech issue. Thanks everyone for bearing with us. We'll be back momentarily. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the next one, go ahead. What would you say,
Yeah,
Charles?
just keep them in the loop. That's all.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm And then pivot, right, to a no tech activity. We are facilitators, trainers. We've been doing this for a while. We have plenty of those mental back pocket activities that we can go to. Again, just like we said earlier, talk to your partner about how you could apply what we were just discussing
Right.
while we
Right.
figure out the
Yeah.
tech issue in the background.
And if you don't have those activities in your hip pocket, you can download our 101 activities from our website and just look through those. Now you've got plenty.
Now you've got 101. Why not?
That's right.
I would say just focus on one or two though
Yes.
in that moment. And then the last thing that I would recommend to everyone is decide fast, right? Analyze the situation, decide, take action, because the more we just sit, the more that we don't do anything, the higher the risk of that disengagement and that disconnection.
Yeah. Yeah. Anticipate things not working in your prep.
Mhm. And it's okay. It happens, right? That is the real world that we're in.
It
And I
is.
think the thing to remember is the room doesn't care about the tech, right? The room cares about you as the leader at the front of the room. So stay steady, keep going. Most participants will follow
Yeah,
because they want the session to work too.
they do. And if they see you artfully navigate through it, it reflects on your prep and your personal brand as a facilitator.
Exactly. So let's think about, Charles, what would you say are some final three takeaways as we close out our podcast for today?
Yeah, so tech problems happen. And so it's not it's more of a design problem, not a luck problem. Because we plan for that kind of failure and we have something we can execute on. And use you build the fail back system. Communicate, then pivot, go with your guts, and be confident in terms of going in that direction. And these are ways in which you can recover from that kind of tech failure.
I think the thing to remember is we all have these tech failure stories, right?
Yeah,
Because we live in an imperfect world. And the ones who come out of it well aren't the ones with better equipment, They're the ones who can be that duck, right? Who can navigate the situation, keep the room moving forward, even if we're not physically there, and know that it's not about the slides.
Yeah.
It's all about us leading the group to where they're trying to go.
Yeah, it's so true. And again, it's being able to anticipate what you need to do. So before the next virtual or live session, identify the highest risk tech dependent moment and create a backup for it should it fail. So keep it somewhere where you can see it. It's your floor. Now you have things that you can do to keep people engaged.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for listening to our Let's Scale Up trainer table. If this resonated, then feel free to share it with a trainer friend of yours, your L&D manager. And if you're looking for more tips on how to navigate activities, facilitation, troubleshooting through these challenging tech issues, we have tons of resources on let'scaleup.com. Check us out. We look forward to continuing the conversation. Until next time.